Today's Monday of Holy Week. Yesterday we talked about how Jesus entered Jerusalem riding on a donkey. It was his triumphal entry into the city. And today Jesus is with his disciples and will do two things that are connected. The first thing we'll see Jesus do is curse a fig tree, which to us seems pretty odd, but there's spiritual significance to what he does. The second thing Jesus does is linked to the first, as Jesus goes into the temple and drives out the money changers and is confronted by the religious leaders. Let's read what happens on Monday of Holy Week from Mark 11, starting in verse 12. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry. And seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard it. In the Old Testament, the fig tree was a picture of Israel. And when Jesus approaches this particular fig tree, it should have had some fruit starting to grow on it. The leaves on the tree indicate that fruit should be starting to grow. It had the appearance of a healthy tree that would bear fruit. But when Jesus approaches the tree, there's 0 figs on it. And because the tree is fruitless, Jesus curses the tree. Now think about how the fig tree is fruitless and how it relates to Israel. Jesus has already called the religious leaders whitewashed tombs full of dead man's bones. They have the appearance of godliness but bear no good fruit because they do not believe in Jesus. They teach false doctrine concerning the Messiah, how to earn God's favor, and how people should live their lives. They twist the scriptures and make up their own rules. That backdrop leads us to verse 15. And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he was teaching them and saying to them, "Is it not written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations'? But you have made it a den of robbers." And the chief priests and the scribes heard it and were seeking a way to destroy him, for they feared him, because all the crowd was astonished at his teachings. And when evening came, they went out of the city. The money changers in the temple were scamming the people. They were driving up the prices of the animals that were required to be sacrificed in the temple for the forgiveness of sins. And the people who had traveled to the city without their own animals would pay these high prices so they could fulfill the law of God and have the animal atone for their sins. Jesus hated that these religious leaders were making it difficult to receive forgiveness and hated that religious leaders were immorally ripping off those who came to his Father's house to pray and to worship. His righteous indignation motivated him to overturn the money changers and drive them out of the temple. These religious leaders have hardened their hearts toward him and are not changing their minds about him. They are just like the fig tree that Jesus cursed. They look great on the outside, like they should be trusting in Jesus as their Messiah, and from that faith producing good works and fruit in their lives. Instead, as we will see tomorrow, they continue to rebel against him and his claim to be the Messiah, the Son of God, who came to rescue them from their lives of sin and rebellion. So the question for you today is, do you trust in Jesus? Or do you act like you have everything together? Everything on the outside looks great, but there is no true faith that would produce genuine fruit and good works in your life? Do you reject Jesus like these religious leaders? Has your heart become hard toward him? If so, turn from that rebellion and trust in Jesus today. Until next time, may God bless you, not curse you, and keep you, not reject you. Amen.